The story revolves around Douglas, a 9-year-old boy living in a tough family environment. His father and older brother are deeply immersed in dogfighting gambling, which sustains the family financially. They mistreat their pet dogs, purposely starving them before matches to make them more aggressive. This deeply disturbs Douglas. Despite the risk, he courageously feeds the dogs. However, his older brother catches him and informs their father, who reacts angrily by locking Douglas in the cage with the dogs. Douglas's mother, subjected to abuse by his father, is unable to help. Eventually, she escapes, leaving Douglas to endure his ordeal alone. For around a year, Douglas remains confined in the cage with the dogs, enduring harsh conditions. Despite the hardships, he forms a strong bond with the dogs, even educating them using books and magazines he discovers. Unbeknownst to his father and brother, one of the dogs gives birth to puppies, which Douglas hides. When his brother discovers them, Douglas tries to protect the puppies. However, chaos ensues, resulting in his father accidentally shooting him, causing him to lose a finger and suffer a spine graze. In a crucial moment, Douglas carefully places his severed finger in a plastic bag and follows instructions from a book to send one of the dogs to find a police car. This leads to the exposure of his father and older brother's crimes, resulting in their imprisonment for abuse and confinement. His older brother is sentenced to 8 years in prison, while their father meets a tragic end after the unthinkable 2 weeks after the court's ruling. Due to his spinal injury from the bullet, Douglas is sent to an orphanage, where he remains confined to a wheelchair. Spending his days alone, he watches other children play outside. However, Douglas's life changes when he befriends Salma, an orphan and librarian who organizes small theater performances. Participating in these shows rejuvenates Douglas, giving him hope for the future. Sadly, their friendship is short-lived as Salma is adopted by another family, leaving Douglas alone once more. 8 years later, Douglas manages a government-run dog shelter, caring for stray dogs while overseeing on Salma's success in the theater world. Encouraged by her achievements, he decides to attend one of her performances in person. After being separated for 8 years, Douglas finally meets his first love, Salma, again. Despite being much older, Salma still holds a special place in his heart. However, Douglas is saddened to learn that Salma has found another love and plans to marry soon. Eventually, Douglas realizes that placing hopes on humans often leads to disappointment. As a result, he decides to devote himself to dogs, earning the nickname DogMan. When Douglas's older brother is released from prison after 8 years, Douglas sends some of his trained dogs. These obedient animals follow his instructions precisely, including tracking and potentially harming his brother as directed. After a while, Douglas is visited by a government official who informs him of funding cuts. The government intends to use the land for property development, giving Douglas only 3 days to prepare to leave with his dogs, who will be relocated to another shelter. Because of his outstanding performance, Douglas might receive a better job offer from social services. Douglas chooses to relocate all his dogs to an old abandoned school building instead of giving them up. Despite the obstacles, he is determined to start afresh. However, finding work in the area proves difficult due to his disability. One evening at a club hosting drag shows, Douglas convinces the manager to let him perform despite his limitations. He believes he can entertain the audience using the basic theater skills he learned from Salma. Despite his disability, Douglas assures them he can stand for a few minutes without moving. With the help of the people there, Douglas finally gets a chance to perform, with 2 friendly drag friends assisting him to stand before he begins singing. Douglas surprises everyone with his amazing singing voice, thanks to Salma's training at the orphanage. The audience, including the manager, cheers loudly. Though he falters after standing for over 2 minutes, his friends by the stage help him. Several months later, now a club entertainer, Douglas bakes a cake with the dogs' help, as they bring each ingredient as he commands. It seems they understand him. Douglas realizes he can use his ability to communicate with dogs for something important. Douglas, aiming to help the poor, enlists his loyal dogs to steal from the wealthy. They enter homes without complicated plans and snatch valuable items. Over time, Douglas targets more wealthy individuals, including suspected corrupt officials. His nickname, DogMan becomes well known in the community, supported for his charitable donations. One day, a young man visits DogMan's base seeking help against local thugs. Despite encountering a guard dog, he enters to explain his plea. He reveals himself as the son of a local shop owner, sent to seek help against the gang troubling the residents, especially small traders. He seeks assistance from Douglas, also known as DogMan, to stop the thugs from extorting the area's small traders. Douglas gives the boss a phone, and another dog approaches to intimidate him. When the boss answers the phone, the dog suddenly bites the boss's pocket. Douglas warns him to leave immediately and stop causing trouble, or face further consequences from the dog. After dealing with the thugs, they turn their attention to the government official whose necklace Douglas took. However, since the necklace is insured, the insurance company sends an agent or detective to look into the matter. The detective begins by examining the CCTV footage from the official's house. Instead of seeing a human thief, he observes several dogs entering the house, with one of them leaving with the necklace. Recalling a previous case involving dogs, the detective becomes certain that they are the culprits. Further investigation uncovers CCTV footage of a man in a wheelchair guiding the dogs. This revelation exposes Douglas's involvement in the thefts. The detective swiftly locates the area where Douglas usually performs. He pretends to be a fan, even extending an invitation to dinner. However, Douglas politely declines to prevent any potential misunderstandings. Refusing to quit, the detective tails Douglas after work. He carefully approaches the old school building and aims his gun at the guard dog at the entrance. Sensing danger for his dog, Douglas promptly opens the door, allowing the detective inside. Once inside, the detective quickly states his goal: to recover his client's stolen necklace. Without delay, Douglas discloses the necklace's whereabouts. However, the detective makes a critical mistake by accepting Douglas's dinner invitation, unknowingly walking into his trap. Before he knows it, he's surrounded by two intimidating dogs. The next day, Douglas receives an unexpected visit from the thug boss and his gang seeking retaliation for their previous encounter. Threatened with violence, the young man who sought Douglas's help reluctantly reveals his location. As Douglas prepares for work, he hears gunfire signaling the thug's arrival. Immediately, he commands his dogs to prepare for a fight against the intruders. As the thugs are gradually defeated in different places, tension builds up. Douglas seems to have predicted this moment, as one thug triggers an electric trap set in the bathroom. The boss panics upon finding his men defeated and quickly calls for backup armed with heavy weapons. Douglas eventually gives in after the boss fires his gun recklessly, forcing Douglas to retreat to his private room, chased by the boss with a pistol. Realizing escape is impossible, Douglas decides to sit in his wheelchair and have a drink, accepting his fate. Unexpectedly, when the boss's gun runs out of bullets, Douglas commands his 3 dogs to attack. Understanding that the location is no longer safe, Douglas chooses to move, loading his dogs into a box truck. Their journey ends when police officers conduct a planned raid, discovering Douglas disguised with several dogs inside. Once in the police car, Douglas tells the dogs to flee before being taken away for further questioning by the police. Dr. Evelyn, a psychologist assigned to evaluate Douglas's mental well-being, has a deep conversation with him about his life experiences. Douglas recounts his struggles, which include suffering, violence, betrayal, and disappointment. He has lost trust in humanity and believes his connection with dogs is stronger. Additionally, Douglas can communicate with dogs, deepening their bond. Despite knowing he will be punished for the thugs' deaths, Douglas accepts his fate, understanding that death is inevitable. He refuses to give up, but he knows he cannot evade death forever. After Dr. Evelyn departs, Douglas forms a plan. His loyal dogs, along with recruited other dogs from the city, unite under his leadership. Together, they attack the police station, overpower the guards, and secure Douglas's release. This marks the conclusion of the story. Moral lesson from the story: never trust a dog to bake a cake or steal from the rich unless you're ready for the consequences, but always trust them to help you break out of jail.